Am I making the point that all colored people are perfect and are completely anti-racist? Be honest. Let's be honest. People want to know.
I like the black people.
Why not?
Just because. Black people. I don't like black people.
So colored people are not perfect, and that's not the point we're making. Colored people have mamparas around them. So an example of an American mampara would be someone like Candace Owens.
What I'm going to say is really, I don't really understand how far we're going to take this inclusivity thing. I really don't get it. Look, I assume.
When you say that you believe yourself to be Caucasian, tell me why you believe that to be true.
Well, I know I'm a Caucasian because when I wake up in the morning, I just have such a great life. And that my hair is so perfect, my skin isn't ugly, and I'm not fat also, which is also a really African-American thing. I'm a Caucasian.
I'm sorry that I'll keep my mouth shut.
We're conditioned in South Africa. Like, do y'all even know how to, like, wash your own hair? Because y'all probably don't. Because I know how y'all dye y'all hair blonde. Y'all get that cow to piss on your head. So we're conditioned.
Just want to bring into context the history of South Africa. We have been a racially divided country. We don't shy away from that.
Push from the truck, and on the very same spot, another confrontation is beginning. 3 boys died here, but more are ready to taunt the police.
We are going to continue with this criminal action. We are going to take action against you.
But in South Africa today, warnings don't stop young people bent on revolution, just as a group of white Liberal MPs cannot restrain the police. Then the police open fire with shotguns.
But the time for racism and tribalism, we've seen that that does not work.
Do you know this man? Anton Franz, huh? Fought alone for 6 hours against the apartheid regime. Special forces in the Bontas. He fought for our liberation. For our freedom at the age of 20 years old, his life was taken away.
Okay, guys, that was the story of Anton Franz, and you saw some images of the other students that were deeply feared by the apartheid government. You can read about them at sahistory.org.za. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. One of the things I have heard multiple Americans, particularly African Americans, say is like, why don't you hate these people, or why don't you hate this race, or why don't you hate that race? One of the reasons is because in South Africa, we had something called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This means that you would stand in front of a panel if you had done stuff in the name of apartheid or in the name of anti-apartheid, whether that stuff was good, bad, ugly, violent, whatever it was. You got a chance to stand in front of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission on TV and confess what you had done. If something was done to you, you could speak and tell the person, this is what you did to me. You unalived my kids. This is how you've affected my life. And that person would have to admit it. They would also have to give graphic descriptions of what they did. A panel or a jury would then decide whether they got amnesty, which is, do we forgive them? Or whether they have to go serve time in jail, this, that, and the other thing. So we're going to see a snippet now of a colored man describing his torture and how the white supremacist, or the guy acting in the name of apartheid, responds. Then we're going to go on to a colored man who was never even given the chance to go before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That is South Africa's longest standing prison. And please stay online, because near the end of this video, we are going to see the one man who gave African Americans their most important story. He was also a colored South African.
When we arrived at Kulenburg, you remember you hung me up.
I may have done it, sir.
To listen to the victims of human rights abuses, to provide reparation, and to grant amnesty. These were the 3 main tasks of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Our policy is one which is called by an Afrikaans word, apartheid. And I'm afraid that has been misunderstood so often. It could just as easily, and perhaps much better, be described as a policy of good neighborliness, accepting that there are differences between people.
Okay, guys, so difficult ethical question for you. If you could go back in time and unalive Hitler before the Holocaust, would you? Difficult ethical question, and the reason I want to handle this with sensitivity is because we are talking about someone who unalived someone. This was the architect of apartheid, Dr. Hendrik Verwoerd, who was unalived in the Houses of Parliament by a man by the name of Dimitri Tsafendas. Dimitri was a colored man. I call him that because that's what he wanted to be called, even though, like me, he's also Greek, and Greeks did suffer a lot for what he did as well. But whether or not we think what he did was right or wrong, and I say there, but for the grace of God go I, the truth is, we held the Truth and Reconciliation Commission here in South Africa, and many people received amnesty, just like the video you just watched about an apartheid activist, no, not activist, but an apartheid government person, for example, doing defenestration, hanging people up. They also did that multiple times to Dimitri Tsafendas. They would put a straitjacket around him, and they would punch him. They would urinate in his food and force him to eat it. Put bags over his head, hang him and put him out of the window multiple times. And this is over a period of 33 years. He spent 33 years in jail, most of them in solitary confinement, except for the last few years in which he was able to move to a mental health clinic. And I don't understand communism so well, and I know that he was also communist, so maybe that's why they didn't let him out. But the point is, we're talking about anti-apartheid activists. We're talking about a country in which very few people have clean hands. A man by the name of Eugene Terreblanche was given amnesty by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. He was a white supremacist, and his name was Prime Evil. That's all I'm going to say. Apartheid is deeper than you guys know. So, not saying we condone or don't condone what Dimitri Tsafendas did. I'm just saying our longest serving prisoner who spent 33 years in jail happens to be a colored man. Just bear that in mind. Make of that what you will. I also, just out of interest, want you guys to know that Dimitri is exactly the same race as me. He's got a Greek father and what in Southern Africa is called a colored mother. But had we lived at the same time, he would not have been legally able to marry me because I was registered as colored, he was registered as white, even though we have exactly the same makeup, right? If you go back far enough, it's exactly the same. But he did love a woman called Helen, and so when he tried to change his status to colored, they wouldn't allow it because the laws are set up in such a way that you could change it, but they weren't exactly favoring you. We'll get into that. If you guys want to know more about that, let me know in the comments.
I'm Joe Lowe. Last Thursday, I was at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, waiting to cover the next part of the story of Dr. King's Poor People's Campaign. At 6 o'clock, I went back to my room to watch the Huntley Brinkley show. I was in room 309. Dr. King was in room 306, less than 60 feet away. As soon as I turned on the television set, he came on the screen, speaking to the audience he had addressed the night before. He was saying very powerfully that he was ready to die. When the program ended, I reached over to turn the set down. That was when I heard the shot ring out. At first, it sounded like a loud explosion, but there was an echo right after it. I knew something had happened, and I rushed out on the balcony. I saw Dr. King lying about 40 feet away. Ralph Abernathy was there, and so was Andy Young. I was the only photographer. I raced back to my room to get my cameras.
April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated as he stood on his balcony at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Barely 60 feet away was the only photographer on the scene, South African Joseph Lou, who was staying in a nearby Lou had come to be in the US after being jailed in South Africa for 6 months for contravening the Immorality Act in 1961 when he, a classified colored man, had an illegal relationship with a white woman. After serving his sentence, he moved to Tanzania where he was awarded a scholarship to the USA, according to sayhistory.org.za.
So yes, there are racist coloured South Africans, but according to a study, coloured South Africans show the most variance in their racial attitudes more than any other race. You cannot just assume.
Some say that some coloured people have not yet entered the new South Africa and are prone to using racist language encouraged under apartheid. Where this may be true, we should emphasize that is not unique to sections of the colored community. Racism is found in all spheres of our society, among Africans, Indians, and whites to sections of the colored.
For some colored people who during apartheid had to be abandoned by their monoracial parents, for example, white, Indian, and colored people, pregnant teens, or maybe people who'd had affairs, they gave up their kids to the colored community to raise as our own, and many of those are our grandmothers and have been raised like that. Sometimes, because we come out looking like any other race, there was always the danger of being taken away from your parents. So for us, when people don't call us colored, it's still for older people, brings up the fear that they're going to be ripped away from their families.
It was illegal to be mixed, in other words, to have a black parent and a white parent, but it was not illegal to be colored, in other words, to have two parents who were both colored. So my mom moved me around the world as a colored child. She found a creche in a colored area where she could leave me while she was at work. There was a colored woman named Queen who lived in our block of flats. When we wanted to go out to the park, my mom would invite her to go with us. Queen would walk next to me and act like she was my mother. And my mother would walk a few steps behind like she was the maid working for the colored woman. I've got dozens of pictures of me walking with this woman who looks exactly like me, but who isn't my mother. And the black woman standing behind us who looks like she's photobombing the picture, that's my mom. When we didn't have a colored woman to walk with us, my mom would risk walking me on her own. She would hold my hand or carry me, but if the police showed up, she would have to drop me and pretend I wasn't hers. I felt like I was a bag of weed.
Masbia was his wife, right?
Oh,
then
wow.
they had a set of twins, Agnes and Arthur. And the set of twins was mixed race.
Yes.
Believe it or not, one of them, when apartheid did its thing, one of them passed as white. They had green eyes, and they had a fair complexion, and they had like brown hair.
Yeah, still as a kid, of course. Yeah.
You understand? So when the apartheid thing came along, Agnes actually continued into the next phase as a colored, and Arthur continued into the next phase as a white man.
Jesus. Man,
You see?
apartheid is
And because when you said fuck apartheid, Arthur didn't leave because he was like, yo, let me get away from these blacks, man.
No.
You understand? It was tense times.
Also, for those who assume that there are so many colored people who want to be white, I've especially heard foreigners trying to assume us people who don't know us. You, my friend, have never tried calling a colored person white.
So I've told my friends it's pretty simple. I am colored as you can hear, not see. And that's why for fun I go walk around in white areas and just wave. They think I'm their neighbor. Futsak. Futsak. Futsak.
As I've grown up, colored people do not ever want to be called the race they most look like.
Yes. Nou, die mense wat vir my ken vir my, die mense wat nie vir my ken nie, ek wil vir julle sê, ek is nie Indian nie.
Don't say that. That's racist, right? That's racist. You don't use that word, coloured, right? You don't use that word out here, Trevor. That's racist, right? Yeah, you don't call people coloured here, right? You don't call yourself that, Trevor. You're free here, brother. You're free. Yeah. You don't use that term, right? You call yourself mixed race, right? Mixed race. That's the PC term worldwide, mixed race. Got to be careful though coming to South Africa, you know? Because you'll come to South Africa and you'll meet up with a colored person and be like, excuse me, sir, are you mixed race? They'll probably be like, you're massive mixed race.
And if you don't mind me asking, sir, are you colored? Whoa, hey, we don't use that term, all right? That's offensive. My mom is white, my dad is half white, half African American. We're from a place near the plains of Colorado. Ooh, the plains of Colorado. Yeah, you look like from the parks of El Dorado.
It would be very fissin and weird if I had to claim being black. So I don't think colored people are black. We're not white. But I don't think those are the two that we need to judge ourselves against.
Whilst there's no mention that the second largest population group in this country, not being white, them being colored, is so neglected, we've got the highest incarceration rate. So we are so caught up between a white-black debate and so on. And this ideal, the zebra debate, this ideal where we want to grow to in terms of a rainbow nation is, so to say, denied.
Okay, folks. So, once again, I'm not pretending that there aren't racist colored people. I do believe that largely those people are not only insecure, but incredibly undereducated, coming from a fairly poor group. As colored people, we recognize that we had some privileges over black people, right? Which to us as South Africans are substantial. But I fear that when foreigners hear about that, many of you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. You know, South Africa has 10 different class groups. It's the most unequal country in the world. I'm not sure that it would be perceptible to you. Basically, guys, what I'm trying to say is neither colored people, not our skin, not our hair, not our culture, not our attitudes, nothing about us is as black or as white as you paint. We are a highly nuanced group. Mixed race people are not a monolith. We're not mono anything. And frankly, let me attack the one last idea that I've always had a problem with. The idea that black and white are the default race. And this idea has caused more problems in the world and continues to do so than any other idea. The reality is that the mere existence of China and India, just China alone, proves that there are more people and always have been more people in this world who are neither black nor white than people who are. I am the place where black and white became one flesh. I choose to honor every woman in all of my ancestry. I will not deny any of them, whether they were wrong, whether they were right. They are a part of me. So you may try and ask me to do that. You may try and add subtext to me. You may demonize me. But my loyalty is to my family first, and secondly, to myself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned a lot. Let me know in the comments, has this changed any of your ideas? Bye, guys. Enjoy.
The difference between white people and colored men, sir. Ouch! Ouch! Somebody call 911! Ah, yo, massa, yeah! My friend, can I please get a picture of the Doritos and a packet of Lays, please, boss? Thank you, my friend. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Boss, my friend. My friend, can I get one packet of cheaper and one packet of bigger, please, boss? Thank you, my friend. Thank you, boss. Wow, spectacular.
Dat is een lelijke ding wat kopwijs in Parijs. Wat? Iets helemaal anders dan een bakkerijs of een kopwijs. Mijn bachelorpaard is muiswijs.
Colored people in the house, make some noise away! That's what it's all about. As a proudly colored comedy show. So I might as well start off by saying who makes us proud as colored people. Because colored people, we're proud now. We're proud. I don't know if you've noticed, but slowly but surely, that we're getting our mojo in society. Ons was skaam geweest in society in the past. Nee, no, ons sterk nou. Ons sterk. Ons sê. Ek sê, Ashwin Willemse, hy sê gesê. Hy sê gesê. And he said it so beautifully. He said, don't you patronize me. That's what he said. He said, patronize. I was like, yo, I was there with my dictionary, like, yo, patronize nogals. Yes, the white guys were shocked. They were shocked. And I know the whole time they're thinking to themselves, why did we teach him patronize? Why did we teach him? He said he wasn't using it for commentary purposes. Now he's using it against us. He's used it against us. Hy sê gesê toe loop hy uit.
I've earned hard and worked hard to earn my own respect in this game. So I'm not going to be patronized by two individuals that have played in an apartheid, a segregated era, and come and want to undermine, you know. And so I think for me, I've had my fair share. I can't work with people that undermine other people. And you know, you can sit and you can laugh about it,
not laughing about
but you know exactly what happened. It's fine. It's fine. I don't mind it being ridiculous. I'm glad it happens on air so people can see.
South Africans have never needed foreigners to come to our country to teach us about the fight for equality. But equality is not the same as uniformity. It is not okay that there are people from other countries who have come to disrespect colored people, a people about whom you know very little.
We are gathered here today as an oppressed people, in sadness and in pain, to put to rest yet another of our very own who have died in the cause of justice.
Positionality or your social identities do not comprise of colored and South African. So why do you still think that you know better than coloreds in South Africa themselves, whose voice actually matters the most in this discourse?
Wat hulle sê op agenda, hulle wys altyd lelike prente van ons mense. Hoekom moet ek altyd against of verklop soos as al wat is in hulle koerante en TV's? Hulle trek op hulle nuus en sê sis, just a low class colored. Your forefathers was whiteys and slaves, so must be a bastard. But wait a minute, if you trace my story and not his story, sal jy sien my forefathers was a king and a queen. They never knew drugs, guns of a canteen. Hulle was altyd aan God te dien. Van die stories